Okay, when I left off, I was talking about as a child. So I'm gonna give you guys a small life story lesson. Take it how you want. All right. So I was born in 1973. 74, 75, 76, 77, 78. So by 1978, I was in school. I was in Berlin Moran School. So 70s and 80s and 90s were the years that I would wind up going to school and be in high school. So as I said in another video, in case no one's seen it, which I'm sure no one has, maybe this will get your attention. When I was going to school, if my nickname being Jonah, and not knowing my real name was James, because at 3 I was reading comic books. Thank you, DC Comics and Jonah Hex, which was the first comic book I ever touched. And then Marvel won me over with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man led me to the X-Men, and here we are. So Disney, give me a job. Anyway, after you hear this sad story, Disney might need to give me a job. So growing up mixed, before I found out I was part Native American, I just thought I was black and white because my mom is exceptionally light, and if she would have been smart, she could have been passing as white. So in school, and I'll tell you guys this so many times before that I'm going to try to shorten this as short as possible. The girl SW and the girl, the hell is her name? LT. Both of them were the first two black girls to tell me that I would never be good enough for black girls. Now, how you know both of these girls was red bone like me, all right? So they were mixed too. They just didn't have mixed features other than their light skin tone. Because most people who are naturally black, if you're not like actually from Egypt, where there's lighter skinned black people, and this is a stereotype, so don't fucking believe it because there are lighter people in Africa. We just don't know all the regions of Africa because we're not taught in school. Now, for American kids and black kids specifically, we have the brown bag test, the color wheel, etc., etc. And on the color wheel, because at the time my skin was right here, even all of this was right there. So it would be the thing that would define us, all right. And every time I would talk to black girls, these two girls would make sure the black girls didn't respond to me in a positive light, with the exception of Emily, who was a pain in the ass, and with the exception of Tutu, who actually did date me until she moved away. And by that time, we're like in the second grade or whatever. And then other black girls just would not have nothing to do with me. It wasn't too different on the black guy scale either, because it's like, you're a half breed, this, half breed, that. We don't really want to fuck with half breeds. And at the midst of this, there was a race war in my school, and black kids didn't hang with black kids unless they were only black kids. White kids didn't hang with black kids at all unless it was me. I had an equal amount of white friends and black friends until I didn't. When the race war started, I no longer had friends because the black people would say, "You're not really one of us. You're not black enough. You don't have the right skin tone. You're a half N and a half H." And the white kids would pretty much be on the same thing. You're not really one of us because you're half N and half H. The N and H, you guys can Google the derogatory. It's like the same thing with like calling a white person a cracker and calling a black person a negro, only in the negative ass words. All right. Anyway, trying to stay positive as possible. So up until the 5th grade, I just thought I was just black and white. Never knew for a New York minute what the fuck Native Americans were, and I had a Native American grandmother until I was 12 years old, full blood, on my dad's side. And every summer until she died, I spent a lot of my summers over there. So, here I am learning about Native American stuff, and not even knowing that I'm learning about Native American stuff. Until I got into Miss Conrad class, who outed me for being part Native American, and I was like, "No, we're just black." And she's like, "No, son, you're part Native American, and you're going to carve the best canoe." Got one right, not the canoe thing. And again, like I said, I'll tell you guys the story. So, to shorten it, a lot of my racism came from black people. It mostly came from black people, not so much on my family thing, but like society, black people. Now, when I would go down to my dad's side of the family, his dad was black. So the second generation of us looked more native than black. All right? So that's why a lot of us in my generation, Generation Xers and all the kids born in the 70s and 80s look light skinned, unless their daddies were dark skinned. So some of us look native in the face, but just brown as fuck. Alright? Darker than me, brown. Now, the exception to the rule on my side is that my mom's dad side had white. Alright? My dad's side had black. My dad's mom's side had Native American, possibly some black, but her mother before her was full-blooded Cherokee. Still doing my research. My mom's mom is Native American and black, possibly all Native American. We're not fucking sure because she was adopted. That's the story we've been told. We don't really know the truth because no one's sitting there and being honest about the shit. Moving on. So a lot of my racism through school, from grade school, middle school, high school, came from a lot of black people. And it was like, hey man, you ain't really one of us. Look at your hair. Your hair is all curly. You ain't got the right skin tone. You don't have nappy hair. See? And you ain't no man down here because you ain't got no hair there because, people look when you go swimming and shit. I never looked. I'm not a dick watcher. But, other kids were. They weren't gay. They were just dick watchers. Anyway, yeah, the shit goes on and on. But it was always like, yeah, you light all the way down your body. And the darkest part of you is your nether region. So it's like, oh yeah, well, still black where it counts. No, you're mixed. You're not black. You're never black. You're never gonna be black. I got that from guys and girls. Alright? Literally, if you weren't mixed, you probably would have never gone through this shit. Alright? Now see, when you mix with just white and something else, if you have more white genes and you look more white, you're probably a little bit more blessed than me. Alright? Now, if you're mixed with something like just Asian, like if you're like Chinese and Japanese, they're just going to classify you as Asian and you're going to be fine. Same thing if you're full-blooded Hawaiian, same thing if you're full-blooded Samoan or Tonkin or whatever. You're going to be just fine. Me, on the other hand, being a triple threat, I caught it from everybody. And, for the longest time, I never caught it from Native Americans until I started doing wheelchair basketball stuff with the Charlotte Cardinals, where I seen this beautiful-ass Native American girl, and I wanted to talk to her. And we were talking for quite some time until two members of the basketball team, which was like her uncles or something, which was related to her, and they're like the three sons of a high chief or whatever, and they told me to leave her alone, not to speak to her because I wasn't pure blood. Those were the only two bad Native American experiences I've had. Now, as far as I had maybe one Chinese incident back in school, and that was kind of my fault because he wasn't even Chinese, he was fucking Vietnam. How you doing, Zhang? I haven't forgotten you and those goddamn rice cakes that we got to arguing over because Vietnamese people don't like rice cakes. So fuck you. That was our conversation. I don't know what started the argument, but Zhang was a cool little dude, and I was a horrible ass kid. I was a fucking monster. And somehow or another, this is kind of what broke me out of racism. Somehow or another, he had said something to me, and I had no idea about Vietnam. I only knew about China and Japan because I was doing martial arts. And I said, man, eat your fucking rice cakes and go the fuck back to China. And he said, man, fuck you. I'm from Vietnam. I was like, what the fuck is that? So after that, we became pretty good friends after that. So, I've always gotten along with Asians after that. Never had another problem with an Asian person outside of the Native American thing that would come later in life. So yeah, you gotta own your shit, y'all. I had a problem with a Vietnamese dude. Alright. Then I was like 8 or 9. Zhang, if you're out there, man. Much love to you. Anyway, so as we got into grade school, as we got out of grade school, it only got worse for me with black people versus white people. I've had mad bad black experiences. Mad bad black experiences. And then as I got into college, it got a little bit worse with some whites and some blacks, but never with Asians. Never had I had a problem with Asians. I had to do some Asian bashing, so I had to clear things up with them. Because I literally talked to my white teacher and say, look, before I do this World War II project about samurais and all this other bullshit, I need to talk to these cats because I don't want to offend anybody. Because Japan didn't have a really good relationship with America. I'm in college. I'm writing this fucking report. I'm studying to be an actor. And I'm like, damn. So we had like 4 or 5 Asians in the class. And I was like, okay, so let me go talk to all the Asians. And lo and behold, none of them were Japanese. So I went and talked to all of them. And then that was clear. So like I said, never had a bad problem with anybody who was like from China or Japan or any other Asian country. Outside of the Native American thing, I was good. Whenever I went to Canada and I dealt with the Korean store and the Korean restaurants, they treated me like I was a fucking Korean. They did not give a fuck about this skin tone. And hell, anybody in black that I met in Canada, they treated me like I was one of them. You know what I'm saying? Where here in my own country, in America, I've dealt with racist blacks and racist whites and two racist Native Americans. So when you sit here and you think about racism and how we can stop it, well, we can stop it by first. This is an ear. Might want to learn how to listen to people. You know, this is my face. I used to think that I was ugly. I literally thought I was ugly for years. And then this shit happened. My car overflow pan exploded in my face. So not only did I think I was ugly, I finally became ugly. So I am grateful for what I have now. That took like about almost 8 months to heal. Thank God for aloe and bacitration. You know, so yeah, I was fucked up. Believe me, I was fucked up. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. You know. So that being said, you know, I got my shit together. I stopped thinking that I was ugly. I started accepting what I had because my face was all I had. And you know, that was like after years of being rejected also, like for acting and modeling and all that stuff. And most of that was about my height, you know, and my race, because people can identify what the fuck I am. But when you're coming through school in this time period, you know, all you hear is, yo, half-breed, yo, half-breed, yo, half-breed, which is also why in most of my films, I play a person who's a half-breed. In Fallen Dragons, I was a person who was the son of a Native American and a Chinese man. In Dragon's Breath, I was the son of a Chinese man and a black woman. In the cleanup, I had no physical background, you know, because I was fighting a clone of myself. In excuse me, that was not the cleanup. That was a clone affair. In the cleanup, I had no physical background on myself because I was a clone, my damn self, fighting someone else, and I was an assassin. God, I gotta find that footage. And then freaking in Dragon's Breath basically got destroyed at Bruce's house when the thing collapsed on top of the hard drive. And so I have to go through tape after tape to try to find that. And I'm pretty sure I can find it. Also, thank you, Mr. Hector Lee, for that. Because, you know, he played a wise warrior or whatever. Anyway, thank you to everybody who played in the cleanup. Excuse me, in Dragon's Breath. I would love to remake that, actually, now that I got a little bit of seasoning on me. But, you know, now my acting skills are a little bit better than it was then, I hope. So, you know, when you're growing up mixed and there are no heroes to emulate, right now, you have a few people who are mixed that you can actually see that they're mixed. And you have The Rock, and you have Tiger Woods, and you have Rob Schneider, who I didn't know was mixed. I just thought he was a white dude, but he's actually half Filipino, which really messed me up. So I was like, congratulations, Rob Schneider. Like, he really doesn't look Asian to me, but hey, now that I know, all right, now I can know exactly what more to look for. And maybe it's like maybe one of his grandparents instead of his actual parent. You know, because the stronger the gene is what you're going to look like, all right? So I didn't know. All right. Sorry if I offended anybody with that. You know, but honesty is best, and it's always best to be honest. So you know, even if it hurts people's feelings, you get it out of the way. So as I'm growing up and going through all this racial shit, you know, kind of got really mad when I found out in the military that a lot of Native Americans didn't have to cut their hair. Oh God, I was pissed off. I had a guy who was full blood. I want to say he was either Lakota or Cheyenne. I'm not gonna swear to it. The whole time we were in processing, he had long hair, and I'm like, dude, how come you don't have to cut your hair? He said, how come you cut yours? I said, well, I'm technically black, and he's like, no, you look kind of native. I said, well, I am mixed. I said, well, why didn't you tell them you were native and keep your hair? And I was like, I didn't know that was a fucking option. And they always cut my hair. They shave me every 2 weeks, and that shit pissed me the fuck off. So this is staying. Anyway, as a guy, when I was in the military, we had no race. We only had one race, and that was green. And we had the urban renewal camouflage. Now they're back to greenery. So I mean, honestly, I think if you're wearing this, somebody probably could see you a mile away. But that's just my personal thing. In the city, if you're wearing green, someone can probably see you a mile away. But for the most part, that's what we wore. Now, when it comes down to it, you know, racism is something that somehow got away from us, and we tend to let it continue to get away from us. In the recent months, weeks, years, before COVID and after COVID it only got worse. But before COVID, there were racism, there was attacks of blacks on Asians and Asians on blacks. It's just magnified by COVID. So now, we have to come together and try to unite and stop racism in general. And now with everything that's been happening in the news with Native Americans and stuff, and it's only been worse. I mean, Native Americans were getting it from Jump Street, So I do find myself drawn to more Native American causes. I do feel more Cherokee than black and white. And I've embraced my Cherokee culture. I just don't know all of my Cherokee culture. So you're not going to see me in war paint anymore until I learn it. You're not going to see me in any more than my costume made stuff from stores. I will actually go and look for real Native American regalia as soon as I have some fucking money. And as soon as I learn more about Cherokee. I did not know that Cherokees did Cherokee dancing. I just found that out like about a week or so ago. So I'm going to look into that. I do know about powwows. The Monacan had a powwow sometime last year or something, and I totally missed it. So when you see my post of the Monacans, they had entered Charlottesville and it has stolen Monacan land on it, is because they're here. They're down towards more Scottsville area, but they're here. And I was like, well, damn, I started doing tribal research on Virginia to find out about my grandmother's tribe, because there is no Cherokee reservation in Powell Heights that I can find. I'm still looking, because I was like, okay, so Iroquois is a subset of Cherokee, or Cherokee is a subset of Iroquois. The Cherokee Nation was moved to Oklahoma in the Trail of Tears, and I'm all over the place, because I'm like, okay, well, both my grandmothers claim to have Cherokee heritage, and then, up until they were classified as real people, a lot of Cherokees was marked down as mulatto. So when I looked for my dad's grandmother, she was marked down as mulatto, and I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense. But then I remembered the kill the Indian, save the man thing, and I'm all over the place on that. But yeah, racism is something that I've personally had to deal with all of my life. And like I said, there are not a lot of mixed role models that are famous outside of The Rock and Tiger Woods. I would like to be that third in that triumvirate. So Rock, Tiger Woods, if y'all listening, boost me up, and I need a job. So let's make a kung fu movie, Rock. I'll take the ass whooping. Anyway, it's just all a thing. But when there's nobody writing scripts for you to play mixed, you don't get to play mixed, and so you have to play the character that your facial structure closely resembles. And I'm gonna give Rock his props, and if y'all get this to Rock, that's fine, because I'm gonna give Rock his props, because Rock has tried to do black characters, and people got mad when he wanted to do John Henry. People was like, oh, your skin's not dark enough, you're not black enough, you don't have enough black features. And I was like, what the fuck? First they were mad at him because he didn't play black people, because that whole Hercules thing, that pissed off a lot of people. It's like, but Hercules is not black. Alright, let's clear one thing about that. We can't prove Hercules wasn't black. We can barely prove that he was the son of Zeus. But for all story purposes, what little bit of Hercules I saw, I liked. I didn't get to see the whole movie, so I'm going to go find that eventually. But whenever Rock plays a character, he has tried to play some black characters, and they just didn't allow that. When he did Walking Tall, he was supposed to be half black. And there are nobody making movies for people like The Rock or me to actually play. That's why when The Rock makes a movie, most people who are mixed tune into that shit. And then when he plays Hobbs, it made Hobbs a Samoan. Even though I'm pretty sure Hobbs is not a traditional Samoan name, it's all good. But see, he's got a good Samoan following. Alright? I don't have a following other than the 130 of you who are here, and I thank you very much. And 900 plus in TikTok and the 1,000 plus in Facebook who need to come here so that my channel can grow. But you know, the thing is, and what little bit of guys I have at Twitter, the thing is that if you don't have someone who is mixed, who has lived this racial life, writing characters for people like me, The Rock, and Tiger Woods to play, and other people who are mixed to play, then you don't know our stories. And you won't know our stories if there's no actors to tell them. And if there's no actors to tell them, it's because there's no writers to tell them. I mean, alright, one movie I saw, and I'm pretty sure that I could be wrong, because I don't know that much about Val Kilmer, but it was called Trueheart or Thunderheart, and he played a person who was an FBI agent who was also part whatever Native American was in that group at the time. Alright? So, you can't really have someone who does that and not have a person who's actually Native play that person, or at least half Native. But Val Kilmer's an excellent actor, so if he is part Native, thank you, Val Kilmer, and I'm sorry if I insulted you. If you're not part Native, thank you, Val Kilmer, for addressing Native issues. Now, you have actors like Wes Studi and Al Leong. Al Leong is a Chinese guy. He's died in everything he played in except for Double Dragon with Mark Dacascos. Brandon Lee has killed him at least once. Dolph has killed him at least once. So, you know, everybody's killed him at least once. But I would love to work with Al Leong. And I would love to either play a character where he can be my father or somebody I get to fight. Alright? Cool beans. I promise not to kill Al Leong. Unless the script says so. But also, same thing with other actors. You know, like Wes Studi, he played a Mohawk when he's Cherokee. And most people who are Native American get to play natives, but they don't have people who are mixed playing mixed characters. You understand what I'm saying? And then, you know, I will push for that representation, but also Marvel has limited their Native American characters, and sometimes they're in movies and sometimes they're not. And if they are in a comic or whatever, they don't have an exclusive until last week when I found out about the comic that I have to go try and buy now. But until last week that I didn't know about. Prior to that, most of the natives were either on teams, but they were never by themselves, with the exception of American Eagle and Wingfoot, Lightfoot, whatever the hell his name is, who hangs with the Fantastic Four and dated She-Hulk. But other than that, they don't have a whole lot of basis in Native American stories. And DC's no saint on that either. They rarely have Native American characters too. Now, you know, I'm not saying that they're wrong, but it would be nice for me to actually be able to play a Native American character, or at least a character who's mixed. And there are very few characters who are mixed, and if they are mixed in the Marvel and DC universe, I'm gonna say it, I'm a comic fan, so don't counsel me, and please forgive me, but if they are mixed, they're fucking mixed with alien. That's pretty much the gist of it. You know, there are very few mixed human characters who are mixed with human and human. They're mixed with alien, which explains their exotic look. Alright? So, you know, that's kind of a thing. Anyway, that being said, you know, we need to get our shit together on racism. We need to have more character representation. I need a job. So, you guys need to help me out. Please go enjoy my song. I'm going to get in the shower now, and then I'm going to post these videos. So if you're watching this, that means it's probably Monday morning, and I've probably posted these things. Or it's Monday night, or whenever the hell you see it. But thank you guys very much. Please go watch my song. Please make my song go viral. If you don't make anything else go viral, please make my song go viral. Thanks for watching. Peace seeing you. And long live multicultural people.